For all intents and purposes, over the last several months, our entire globe has been shut down. Now, I know that business has taken place and people are doing things and governments are running. It hasn't been completely shut down, but again, practically speaking, around the world, globally, economically, physically, we have been shut down. What has been fascinating to watch in all of this, and there are so many things that really have been fascinating to watch, so many things we can take away from this time. But to me, one of the big things that's been fascinating to watch is the fact that you can make the majority of the world stay in their homes, and yet we can still function as a global economy. We can still function here in the United States as a country, and our communities can still function. Our churches can still have services, and we can still meet with people, even though we can't physically sit across the table from them. It's been fascinating. I wonder, looking back during times like this, at other times, what people did. Technology has proven to be an incredible tool for maintaining connection, even though there has been physical separation. It has been absolutely amazing to watch. I've said this a few times, and I'm sure you've heard it in other places, but it wasn't that long ago. Most people had no idea what a Zoom meeting was. You had to be someone in the corporate world who has a global audience before you know what a Zoom meeting is. To have those meetings where you don't have to sit in the same room. People can be anywhere and they can all be seen and heard on the same screen. It's an amazing platform very few people knew about. This last week, my children, who are in an equine class, they go to a ranch and they learn how to take care of horses and ride horses. They had a Zoom meeting because they can't go out of the house. They didn't ride the horse on the Zoom meeting, in case you were wondering. But they did have a lesson about horses, and they got to talk to other people about horses, and their primary instructor was talking to them. It's amazing technology. And again, as I mentioned a moment ago, even churches have utilized this technology, not Zoom all of the time, but Facebook Live meetings and YouTube Live meetings and other opportunities on these electronic platforms to connect with people. One thing we have seen illustrated, though, on the other side of all of this, is that without the physical component of connection, there is still a sense and a feeling of isolation. Again, it's amazing to receive information, even to have conversations virtually or remotely, but when two people cannot be in the same room, something is lost. Now, you know this and I know this, but this is really important for us to get our hands around as we consider the future. I think in a lot of ways, people who love technology and people who build technology and people who push technology are hoping for and pushing for a world where technology is king. And in a lot of ways, we could say that it is. But many people would like to replace in-person connection and in-person conversation with technology, and we've demonstrated we have the platforms to do that. But what we have also demonstrated, and this is important, is that you can't replace that person-to-person connection. That it's possible to see someone on a screen and even be able to communicate with someone on a screen, but there can still be, even in the midst of that, a sense and a feeling of isolation. Even before the events that we're going through right now, many studies have been done and conversations had on how in a world that is so connected through social media, there is such a feeling of isolation and abandonment by so many people. Those with thousands of followers on social media have very few friends in real life, and so even though they project an image on social media for thousands to see, in person they're broken, they're hurting, they're hopeless, they're isolated, they're alone, and often afraid. We have been able to relegate that, at least intellectually, to a small segment of our society. But what we've seen over the last few months, and here in the United States in particular in the last few weeks, is the need for real, not social interaction, but physical, in-place, in-person social interaction. Why do I make this point, and why does it matter? It matters for a lot of reasons. We have to understand that we were created as social beings. We were created to be in the same space and time as other people. We were created for relationships, and these relationships are not just virtual relationships where there is an exchange of information. It is the person-to-person, touch-to-touch relationships that we were created to have. This is important when we consider our children and raising our children in a world where they have very few in-person interactions and they've been relegated to these social interactions on social media. When we consider virtual learning and all of these things as helpful and as important as they are, they do not replace what we were created to have. We need to raise our kids in a way that they get out with other kids and that they grow in real relationships. In other settings, we think of older parents or grandparents, those that we care for. We need to be with them, in place with them, together. In classrooms, there's much to be learned in a social setting that we can't learn virtually. What an amazing time to be alive. What an amazing thing to see. What an amazing thing to understand. But what we also need to understand is the need to be together. I hope that on the other side of the government-imposed isolation, we use the word quarantine, I hope that on the other side of all of this, we value more than we ever have simply being together. How important it is, and yet we're so quick to forget the value, the importance, the comfort, and in many cases, even the courage that comes from simply spending time with someone else. I hope that you will. I'm thankful for technology. I know that you are. It's technology that allows us to do this. But I hope that you, like me, value now more than ever the importance of being together.